Pen behind here, so it'll be somebody steals.
Good evening and welcome to the Ferguson City Council meeting for May 14th. We'll start with our opening ceremony. Meeting is now called to order. Let us stand for a solemn prayer. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Here.
Councilman Palmer,
Here.
Councilman Cassoff,
Here.
Councilman Robinette,
Here.
Councilman Lipka. Here. Councilman Williams,
Here.
Mayor Jones.
Here, a quorum is present. As you know, our attorney is not in his seat tonight, but he is on Zoom and he will be attentive to what we are doing here tonight. So rest assured, he will listen and answer any questions that council has for him. At this time, I would like a motion and a second to amend the agenda for new business to discuss social media.
So moved.
Second, Linda Lipka.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We move to the second item on the agenda is public comments. We remind you that please, when you come to the podium, please speak into the mic. You will have 3 minutes. Give us your name and the place where you live. At this time, Clerk Pittman, do we have any residents for public comments?
Yes, first we have Jeff Galonia.
Just passed our rec board at our last. Calvin Park was built with over $200,000 in-kind contributions from our trade union, with over 4 corporate sponsors putting in over $136,000. Our community, Ward 3, came together to actually help build this park, uniting everyone together under one name. Park be a blessing, not a curse. At this moment in time, I'd also like to remind everyone who's not signed up yet, our Ferguson Twilight Run is also this week, starting at 501 Plaza, starting at 4:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Next, we have LeVar Mitchum.
Staff and residents. I am coming to you this evening because I'm very concerned about how Ferguson is utilizing the ARPA funding that it has received. Although ARPA funding are federal dollars designated to help all Americans recover financially from the impact of the pandemic, we are concerned that all Ferguson residents do not have equal access to the ARPA funds. The city of Ferguson allocated ARPA funds to the Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Program to be used for the exterior home repair program. However, the guidelines to determine how Ferguson homeowners can access the funds to assist with such repairs are very questionable. The process of accessing the funds appears to be discriminatory because homeowners are required to pay for the home improvements and then apply and be reimbursed from ARPA funds. This process will eliminate many of the very residents who need this type of assistance. The most, Ferguson has a poverty rate of 21.1%. With poverty that high, it is most likely that many of the residents requiring assistance to make necessary home repairs will not be able to do so because they will not be able to pay out of pocket first for the repairs and then reapply for reimbursement. This is very unfair to Ferguson residents, especially those with low to moderate income. This type of policy is unacceptable. We are concerned that residents were not involved in the development of policy involving these public dollars. We are also very concerned as to why a set of criteria used to eliminate significant portion of our residents from benefiting from such an important program would be in place anyway. Therefore, we are requesting the members of the Ferguson City Council, the city manager, members of the FNIP board, the city attorney, and the city clerk to have a public meeting to address our concerns on Tuesday, June 4, 2024 at 6 o'clock at the Ferguson City Hall.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Linda. oh, thank you. Next is Linda Granberry.
Good evening, Mayor Jones, council members, city manager, and fire chief, and staff, residents, and guests.
What about the girls' phones? Any leads there?
No, man.
I'm here, I came to see.
They had to see something. And keep scrubbing social media. Kids these days can't go 10 minutes without posting something.
Just got the call from Eastern Ridge Hospital. The one girl who didn't die is awake and in stable condition.
Thank you. Number one, I came here this evening with three concerns. The FNIP Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Program is supposed to be available to all Ferguson residents. I've applied twice for this program, January the 1st, 2024, and the latter part of April 2024. January 11th, I received an email acknowledging receipt of my application, date of January the 19th for an inspection. Received another email stating rescheduling of the inspection to January 25th. Never got an inspection, but another email stating that I need more pictures. I visited the code enforcement office where I was told that they don't do inspections, but they do need more pictures, which I provided in person at that time. Still didn't see or get a response. The latter part of April, I applied the second time. This time, no email. 2 weeks later, May the 7th, I visited the code enforcement office, spoke to Mr. Joel Poole, who spoke to someone in a room that told him to tell me that someone would contact me in a couple of days. I'm still waiting. Customer service should be given. It should be a given. But it would be nice to have a yay or a nay out of just plain courtesy. Number two, investors have changed the trajectory of our neighborhood. Homeowners' property values in jeopardy due to little to none upkeep of property next door, and the landlords are not held accountable. Speed tables, that's number three. Would like to have it. Asphalt speed tables, I hope you consider. I've seen them after they've been hit and they crumble, unless you have some that don't. And since I got 46 seconds, if anybody got any questions, you can ask me now. Other than that, I'm gonna say this. I have property in Berkeley. I have to pay a fee, an inspection fee every year for $100. That's my personal home, but I don't live there. So they're considering me as a landlord. I'm charged $100 every year for an inspection. If it don't pass, I'm charged another $100. I pay $50 for being considered a landlord. I think, and the landlord or the person that's on the property cannot be no more than 50 miles away from it. I wish you'd consider something like that for here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Granberry.
Next, Jamil Franklin.
In Church Street. So, last spring of 2023, I got a, letter, an application for the exterior home improvement grant in my mailbox. Took advantage of the program, got some concrete work done, and I actually was reimbursed for the funds that I spent. Fast forward to the spring of 2024, nothing in my mailbox, but by word of mouth, I heard the program had increased from a cap of $1,000 to $1,500 matching funds. So I decided, let's do some more work, so I did that. Submitted my application last month about around the 24th. About a week and a half later, I followed up with the FNIP director, and I was told that I wasn't approved because I had completed the work without approval. So I was kind of, like, wait a minute, that didn't happen last year. So I found out the actual rules and regulations were amended in July of 2023, basically stating that you had to have pre-approval before any work could begin on your property. Didn't really understand why you need pre-approval, especially for work that wasn't permitted. Spoke with one of the board members, and I was told that they're checking to see if you own the property, if your taxes are paid. Those two, that even if that's the case, you can do that post work being done. More importantly, that was not stated on any of the applications that are floating around, that you had to have your taxes paid, which my taxes are paid. More importantly, I'm concerned about people being disqualified because of bad information. The previous year's application was floating on the website, the city's website, for over 10 months. It went down last week when I reached out and informed the director and board members that it was there. But more importantly, as of today, the application from last year that I used, it's available at City Hall, 108, it's on the wall. So they don't even, the city's not even giving out the accurate application for residents as opposed to somehow know the new rules and follow them. So, I don't believe anybody was doing this to try to, I guess be, deceitful, but when you make mistakes, human error happens, you have to give people, grace. And I think anyone who's been declined this year, they should be reconsidered for those funds if they use the old application, because, the city's responsible for what it puts out on its website, actually the city's down here about. Other issue I have is customer service. So our staff here at City Hall, with this issue I've been dealing with for the last 2 weeks, I haven't been able to talk to many people. Mr. Hampton, your phone line, when I try to get to you, your voicemail isn't set up. So I can't even leave you a message. If you go through the staff directory, it just rings until disconnects the phone. So I think there's also a big disconnect with our customer service, because that should be the #1 priority for residents, because a lot of us don't know all the rules and regulations. Big cast off, your extension doesn't work. It's just Tony Girl, by the way.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin.
Yeah, on the voicemail, I accidentally pushed do not disturb the meeting, and I probably didn't take it off. Call it now.
Shirley Emerson.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, staff, residents. I'm Shirley Emerson, and I'm president of Forestwood Community Development Corporation, also a member and resident of the city of Ferguson. And I'm coming again to talk about the management of the ARPA funds. The American Rescue Plan Act was enacted in 2021, and it provided funding for economic recovery to help all Americans respond to and recover from the financial crisis that was brought on by the pandemic. Ferguson received a little more than $4.5 million, or a little more than $4 million, I should say. And out of that, they gave $650,000 to the Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Program. Now, FNIP, as it is known, is a nonprofit, and members of that are chosen by the city, so it definitely has ties to the city. We're concerned because the stipulations that FNIP has put on those dollars, first of all, people have to qualify up front. They have to have already paid for any improvements to their home exterior, home repairs, and then they have to be reimbursed. Well, with the 21.1% poverty rate, this is going to seriously impact a lot of our residents. And the people that very much are in need of this kind of service will not be able to get it, or this kind of assistance will not qualify for it. And so we think that's problematic. But that brings to mind some major issues and why we are requesting that the city sit down with us and explain, first of all, how was this process drafted? How did you draft the policy that you're following to give out the ARPA funds? And then we want to know, why did you decide that people had to be of a certain level of wealth in order to qualify for the funds? Because obviously low and middle income, moderate income people cannot afford to qualify for these funds, but they can't afford to pay upfront to get the necessary repairs done. So because of that, then we are requesting a city public hearing, public meeting with you so that you can explain and address our concerns. We would like to meet with the city manager, we'd like to meet with the Ferguson City Council, the mayor, the FNIP board, city attorney, circuit clerk. We would like to have this meeting on Tuesday, June the 4th, 2024 at 6 p.m. here at the City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emerson.
Okay, I don't have any more in the room, but I do have one online.
Someone please silence your phone, please.
We're gonna go to Erica Brooks.
Ms. Brooks?
Erica Brooks.
Ms. Brooks?
Okay, I see her online, but I don't see, for whatever reason, she's not connecting. The only speaker we have online,
Okay,
outside of that, the only other one you received via email. So
Okay.
that'll be included in the records.
okay. We'll leave the public comments open for now until we could get to Erica Brooks, but we'll keep moving forward. At this time, we'll have the manager's report. City Manager Hampton, please give us your report.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, first off, there's no way I can make the meeting on June 4th. So if maybe you send me an email with additional dates, we can work things out. Secondly, we did a car auction or an auction of salvage goods from the Public Works. And with total, we have $29,850 from that auction. And then I will have Chris Crable come up and he will talk about our consent decree update. Chris?
Good evening.
Said I'm gonna provide an update on our status. We did have our status hearing on April 23rd. I updated the report on staff and council updates, recruiting efforts, policy updates, plan development, training development, monitor audits, self-audits, and other projects within the city. The court has published the official transcripts on their website, so it's available for anyone to view. Also, they have announced the next status hearing will be July 9th. We'll put, once we have a little bit more details, we'll put that on our website. We'll have the shuttle. We'll work to get the shuttle organized. You've probably seen we've had some success in filling some key positions. I believe you've been introduced to most people, but what I provided at the status hearing was we have Pat Washington, our public information officer, that started. Stevens, our training coordinator, Scott Amos, our captain of administration. I didn't provide this at the status hearing, but Brett Barnett, the police officer, that started as well. And then at the last council meeting, other team was introduced, their human resources director. These positions, they need work closely with whether they're helping develop parts of training, communication, or pulling data or records that we need to do our audits. So I'm happy they're on board, and I'm happy we're all working to accomplish. Moving on to the recruiting side, we're still trying to fill the deputy police chief position, a police officer position open, dispatcher position open. We're actively recruiting for those. That is good. We've heard that the city has been setting target dates. We've gotten positive feedback from the DOJ, the monitor, and the court, saying that they're seeing these target dates are being met, and they're seeing progress. So they're really happy with that. And then kind of moving on to what the target dates are about. So I'm going to start with policy development. We've been working on finalizing our First Amendment policy. Some people call it the protest policy. Yesterday, the Department of Justice sent it back to us. We have a couple final revisions, but it doesn't have to go back to the Department of Justice. It can go onto the monitoring team. Once they have their review, we'll publish that. But we're kind of in that process of policy development for the First Amendment. Items that have been finalized, policies that have been finalized, is the court's limited English proficiency and the court citation audit policy. Like I said, those have been finalized and they're ready to go. Moving on to plan development, I'm going to start with the training plan. There's been a lot of momentum with that. Thanks to Lisa and the team, working on that. We have submitted the training plan for Justice. They have provided feedback. We're working on getting that back to them. We set a target date for it. Probably going to set it later this week. But then within the training plan, there are a few things that we're working on, which is the taser training. We have that set to go to the Department of Justice by June 10th. Firearm training, June 10th is that deadline as well, our target date that we've set as well. We're working on the body worn camera and PTO. Those are both set to be submitted to the Department of Justice by June 10th. We have bias-free training, use of force. Those are resolutions that you'll see on the agenda tonight. Once those are passed, we can, if they're passed, we can start setting target dates forward for the Department of Justice. Other plans that have been submitted, the crime prevention plan, is now with the monitor for review. It went to the DOJ to provide some feedback. We accepted or rejected some of the feedback, did our negotiations, and it's been to the monitor for review. Our subject matter experts are looking at it. As soon as they get that back to us, we'll set new target dates for that around. The next thing that we're working on is also the staffing plan. We set a target date for the middle of July. That plan has a lot of moving parts. We looked at call volume, time officers are on call. We have to look at, is there enough time in the day for them to write their reports? So it kind of looks at what we need to do to make sure everything can be done in a day. How do we staff for that? So we're looking at, initially when the plan was wrote, it was wrote on not by call volume, but by population. In our population here at Ferguson, we have a higher call volume than the national average. So we do have to kind of look at the call volume because our officers are, responding to more calls. So they're out more. So we might have to adjust how we staff. So that's what that plan's looking at. We're, working with people who have a background in this. So once we get a little bit further along, I'm sure we'll be providing updates on that. The next plan that we're also working on is the community engagement and crime prevention plan. This was started before I probably even started at the city. And we picked it up and we're starting to review it again. We're incorporating new material, so it's gonna look a little bit different from the last time people have seen it. But this plan has a lot of community buy-in, community engagement plans. So we're working with community groups to get that updated and looking at it with the Chief Doyle and his vision as well, putting his vision into it. So that should be submitted before the end of August. The city is also in the process of working on 2 audits with the monitor. The use of force audit, this is the round 2. So we've done this audit one time before. This is the second round. We've already provided the information to her on those audits. They're kind of reviewing and setting up the scope of work that they want to do. Once we get that back, we'll start. They'll probably come in person and look at some things, and we'll start working with them on that once they set those dates. But right now, they're just in that review process with the audit. And then the next audit, the accountability or CRB audit. So they look at our accountability with the CRB, how we were submitting the documents, how we're following up with them, kind of that whole process. So this is the first time we're doing this audit. The monitor, a lot of these documents are paper documents, they're not digital. They're like police records, that kind of stuff. So the monitor and their experts, the monitor might not come in, but her subject matter expert might be coming in, scheduling the date to come in and reviewing the CRD binders, that material. So we're looking forward to set those dates and get them in here to look at that. Then just some general other projects we're working on. We're looking at court self-auditing. So we're going through everything the court needs to audit that's laid out in the consent decree. It's like pages worth of things that we have to self-audit on, or we have to audit on. We're looking at things that have not been audited. We're coming up with a process on how to audit that. And then once we come up with that process and the monitor approves, we can start self-auditing ourselves, submitting those reports to the monitor, and that might take the auditing off of them if we're submitting the reports and following everything properly. So that gets us even closer to that substantial compliance, because the last step for substantial compliance, or one of the last steps, is the self-auditing, self-monitoring. So we're kind of getting really close to doing that. There's a couple other things I want to touch on really quick is our long-term planning. So I think the first time I gave a status update here on the consent decree, we talked about having the long-term plan, or where we're at on the city's website with our recent version, actually not 5 version, we're getting closer to building that web page out. But we're also looking internally as well. So we're trying to create a framework for, a document system to where I'm not here or somebody's not here on the team can still move forward. So kind of making us more resilient and making it so somebody can pick up where the other person left off without having to start over a new knowledge base. So those are things that we're looking at, we're working on as a team here. And then the only other accomplishment that I want to note tonight is that we submitted our first annual report this year. That's something that we should have been doing since the consent decree was started, but the city had never submitted one before. This is the first year we've done it. So the court was happy, the monitor was happy, and we're fulfilling some more items that haven't been fulfilled before. And then just the overall feeling from the status hearing was, we received a lot of positive feedback. The judge, the monitor, the DOJ is seeing progress. They're happy with the progress. They want us to continue what we're doing. Their feedback. So that's from my update.
Okay, any questions for the consent decree coordinator? Councilwoman Lipka.
Well, first of all, Chris, really impressive. Thank you so much with everybody that's in the room, the ladies back there. Thank you for your work. I was trying to write as fast as you were talking, so there's a few things I would just like to get some repeat. You were talking about policy development, the First Amendment policy. You had a few revisions from the DOJ, but you had finalized the court limited English policy. This is my shorthand. You had finalized a policy for courts regarding limited English. And then what was the one after that that was the second court policy you had finalized? Okay. And then when you were talking about your plan development, your training plan, submitted to the DOJ. May 24th is your target date. Taser training and firearm training, June 10th is your target date. Body worn cameras and what else? Let me write that down because I won't remember it. So do we have any police training officers right now?
Probably need to be up on that. That was probably a lot.
Because I know a long time ago, we had an issue with the fact that the officers who could train were so needed on on the streets that it was a hard time coordinating the training. But that, I'm looking at you and you're smiling at me, so I'm assuming that that's being worked on and you guys are creating a better.
The initial group was the group that came in and trained small officers.
Uh-huh.
Starting they're the officers, the police training officers will train the new recruits that are coming. So we're developing this policy so that we can train, have the officers.
So it's repetitive and easy to follow and so forth. Gotcha.
Space out.
Checklist, mark, done. Got it. Okay. So body worn cameras and PTO training policy. The target date for that is June 28th. And bias-free training and use of force training. What was that target date or did that one?
If they're approved, then it's a target date, but we need to know how you all are feeling on that before we take it forward.
And when we get to that point of the evening, I do have some questions that I marked for that. Going to the next part, crime prevention plan, you were talking about the difference between call volume versus population, which was the past criteria, but now we're realizing call volume. Correct, staffing plan. I wrote that there. I'm sorry. Community engagement, your new material, your target date is end of August. Use of force audit, it's in its second round. Self-audit, looking into things that have been audited, that have not been audited, creating a process.
I can share my notes.
I shorthanded it pretty good, but
Almost everything. I'll share my notes.
well, that's all I have. And I just want to say thank you. I feel like since you've been put in place, we have really been moving forward, especially with the people that have also been put in place to assist this process. Yeah, thank you.
Councilman Williams.
Just one comment. So I know a lot of times the police, their adrenaline is running, they might not have time to do reports. Pretty sure they have a cell phone. They can transcribe, they can talk the report and it'll transcribe the report for them. Then when they get to a computer, they can just proofread it. And that's a lot easier than trying to sit down and remember what happened an hour ago and your adrenaline is running. So most cell phones have that AI transcribe. They'll make their job a lot easier.
We can look at that as well. I know maybe it should have the body camera footage as well to help them go back and reference as well, but that's a good note that I can share with the chief.
Yeah, and it'll be pretty much word for word. They might have to fix some stuff. So if they have 10 reports that night, it'll make it a lot easier.
Yeah, I'll share that with the chief and see what we.
Councilwoman Noah.
Thank you, Mayor. So Chris, Mr. Crable, once the Microsoft 365 conversion is completed, then residents will be able to go to the database. Is that going to be the database?
Everything, so it's not gonna be like immediate, like once it's here, but we can start uploading the data into this and on the website. But we're using Ben Horowitz from Page that he's been working with us for a while. He creates that with other cities, so he has like multiple
Dashboard,
templates.
not
So
database.
he can, like plug and play with stuff. City a little bit.
Okay.
I think last night, yeah, one of the times I was up here presenting, we talked about Puerto Rico's conception and more but once it's translated to English, it's a lot more user friendly than Chicago or like Louisiana. They have 1,000 dots that you have to click on each one and it tells you, well, we're red here, green here, yellow here. we're gonna put up with more, it has all the information there, but it's a lot more user friendly.
Right,
Um,
right.
So we're looking at what's user friendly. We'll still have all the information. And then we'll work with the technology that.
Okay.
So,
So like all the information that you just shared, residents can go, they'll be able to go onto the dashboard and review that or,
So like when we update, like the use of force is now sent to the monitor, it can update the website semi-regularly. We can have it update weekly, we can have it update monthly, however we choose to have it integrated to the website. And it can let us audit it and then we can upload it. So it'll show where we're at in the progress. And then internally as well, like there can be an external part, but there's also an internal part where we can upload like the documents and keep everything in one place. So if I'm out, somebody can go in and click here and it's there and it'll save a copy of it. So we're not like overwriting everybody's work or something like that. So it'll be more user friendly, I think, for staff. There's a lot of good things that come with 365.
Thank you. Councilwoman Robinette.
And just to be clear, with the Microsoft 365 project is part of it. It like that is a Microsoft project is included in that.
So we're not providing that software.
Yeah,
Like-
Power BI builds the reports and sits on top of the data. Yeah. Mhm.
There you can upload the information, running scripts on the back end. With subscriptions that we're getting, I don't know all the specific details, but when Ben has looked at it, it will work with what he needs us to do and how we need to plug it in.
Okay.
I can get more specific.
Okay. No, that's fine. I just want to make sure that it's not something we have to add on to. Okay. Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions for Chris? City Manager?
Thank you, Chris. Mayor and Council, that is the manager. Well, I do have one thing.
Okay.
Yes. So this morning we had the National League Cities come out on the 100 tour of 100 cities for the Midwest area. And we were selected. And today we had them meet at the firehouse and we went down to the incubator business, and then we walked our way down to by Elicious. And we looked at all the businesses and we talked about Ferguson and how beautiful it's becoming and what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
With that,
Thank you. So Chief Hampton, I wanted to ask, sounds like it was a successful auction. But I've done estate sales and you never get rid of everything. So what do we still have left?
yeah, we still have some vehicles left. We're looking at what we can do right now. I know we have a grant coming up with PD that can be purchased for cars, so we can look at even seeing how much we can get from the dealership as a trade-in for those vehicles. Or we can also look at looking at Purple Wave or put it back out. This
So,
cost the city nothing. In reality, this was just labor, our labor.
so so what we have left, obviously, we have some police cars left.
They may be police cars. They don't have, I mean, they may or may not. I don't know exactly what we have left. Some, I think we had some seats upstairs that we are gonna be putting in the cars now that we found. So I think some of that may be one of the reasons why a couple of them were not bid on. I was not at the auction. I was a little busy doing something else, but.
Really? A city manager busy doing other things?
But it, we're looking at what we can do. Like I said, that costs the city only our time. Where if we went with Purple Wave or if we went with Enterprise, both of those cost the city money. Because we have to pay them to do, get rid of the cars. Where we could potentially take them to the dealer for our trade-in when we get the grant for PD though. And I don't know what vehicles we have left, but we could potentially do that and see how much we could get from. And before that can be done, I will bring back the cost that the dealer will give us or the price.
Well, the reason I ask is because I'm just wondering, could any of those be dummy cars? Could we, like I've got citizens in Forestwood who are constantly saying that they feel like they live next to a drug house. Could we possibly put a car on the street and put a camera in it and, anything? I know, maybe I've watched too many crime TV shows. I don't know, but I just was wondering if we could utilize those cars in a way to, be a dummy car for speeding, be a car that sits there and can gather information like we do with our Jamar. I mean,
So yes and no.
okay. I mean, you could probably use them in the meanwhile and still get them on
Yeah, I
the
mean,
market.
Just, I wouldn't want to tell everybody we're putting a dummy car out there. I mean,
Well, they're not marked, so I mean, they'll look like every other car that's parked on the street right now, or hopefully.
so yes and no.
some expired plates for.
But I'm just trying to utilize what we have to answer the concerns of the people who are, regularly letting me know that they're really upset about what's happened next door to them or things are going on. And every time they call the police get there and the activity stops. And so then the neighbor's frustrated because they're getting no relief. So it's just a thought from watching a lot of SVU, I guess.
Councilwoman Nord and Councilman Palmer.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I saw that there was some movement at the car wash that was burnt last year. It was demoed recently and we appreciate that. But my next question is regarding the business at 975 South Florissant. Is there any update on what's going on in that building?
Yeah, my understanding is that, and I'm about 98% certain that the lady has backed out. And because the special use permit, I think also went away in that time period and that she was not able to get in. And I don't believe there's such a harmony relationship there. So, but I can get you more information and I can send it out to council.
Councilwoman Noma, were you saying?
I said car wash. I
Yeah, did
apologize,
you mean laundromat?
laundromat. I totally did, it's
Okay,
been
I
like-
was just wondering.
I
was like,
apologize. It was the laundromat. I see that the building was demoed, which is great because it's been sitting since it was
So,
burnt for
On the
months.
laundromat, that store was supposed to be remodeled next. It just happened to have a fire. But we watched video, it was not them. But that store, it was one of our better laundromats, but it was their worst one. And they've been going around the country, fixing them all up. The people that own the extractors actually own the laundromat. So the company that builds the extractors or wash machines is actually the owner of the laundromat and they plan on rebuilding. And then also, while we're on demos, the Cracker Barrel was demolished. We know there's some interest down there. We don't know exactly what it is. We're hoping that that's part of the land sale that they had to demo. So we will be in touch with them.
Palmer?
I just wanted to say, if you thought it would be beneficial, I'm willing to produce a resolution that would allow you to sell those surplus vehicles that have been tried to be sold at auction. One piece of advice I would have would be maybe get a battery in them and get them running and then vacuum them out and then maybe put them up for sale at a Kelly Blue Book trade-in value or something. If we can legally do that, I'm more than willing to do that, but you can put a Facebook Marketplace post out or, publish them on Auto Trader or something pretty cheap. But you will get better results, if they're functional, with Key, so.
Any other questions for Chief Hampton? City Manager? Okay.
Did you want to show everybody our?
Yeah. Here's the poster they left us with, celebrating 100 years. Pass that to the chief. Mhm. Mhm. And they gave us a goodie bag. So the council members who turned in your shirt size, your T-shirt is in this goodie bag, so don't leave without getting your T-shirt, okay? It was great. It was a great event today, so they were really pleased with Ferguson progress, and more importantly, that we were able to stop and talk to the various business people, and they can see that we have a relationship with our business community. That was a big plus. What today? Okay. Would you like to add about the walk this morning?
So I'm not quite sure what you just told him about. Were you talking about when Maurice came out? Okay, yeah, it was really awesome when some of our business owners popped out of their stores and asked what was going on. But I think Councilwoman Noah, Councilman Palmer, Councilman Kassoff, the mayor and I, and city manager, it was just a lot of fun. The people from the organization enjoyed getting pictures with the fire trucks of Ferguson, as well as asking us to get pictures with their RV that's traveling the nation. But it was very productive and the businesses were looking great. So I think it was great.
And Rachel from Community.
Oh, and Rachel too. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I walked with her for quite a while.
okay. Any other questions or comments for City Manager Hampton?
And Pat Washington was there too.
Our PIO, she was there. Okay,
Thank you, Mayor. That concludes the city managers.
okay. The manager's report has ended. I left the public comment open because Ms. Brooks was online. I see she's here. Would you give us your comment, please, so I could close the comment section?
Things I want to talk about. I want to follow up with that I sent in on March 26th this year about several streets that needed repair, dealing with mudsliding, dealing with erosion, with flooding, meandering cracks, and poor drainage. And I know that you all have mentioned that you had extra ARPA funds to be able to do street safety and also in street improvement. And so I was trying to see if you all have looked at my petitions that I turned in for the following streets. They were talking about Thomas Avenue, Kirk Avenue, Georgia Avenue, Kingsport, Chancellor Avenue, Sheriff's Lane, and Robert Avenue. Those were the streets that I turned in petitions for because I was out canvassing as a candidate for city council. People complain about the street, they couldn't go down the streets, you know, like to follow the streets. And so I just want to see if y'all can follow on that situation. Also on Dade Avenue, as far as street improvements that were done, the backfield, if you go down Dade Avenue, the street is beautiful, but the backfields have not been properly filled back in because you still have, like it's raining right now, that mud will come out of there and go down the street. So is there any way that you all can go back and I talked about this right after the construction was done, about property, because I know I told you that it was dealing in one of the houses where somebody car got actually lodged in that backfield and had to be towed out. So I'm trying to see if you all have worked on getting that addressed. And also, I know airport work is a county road, but it's amazing to me how they're like filling in, you know, working on infrastructure in certain particular places. And it's ridiculous how they're not even up to grade and still bumping and cracking. So I'm trying to see if y'all can work with them to have proper grading of the streets so that people can actually ride on a nice street. Also grass cutting. I know the city has plenty of times about the getting as far as cutting grass. And I know that our grass is just owned by the city. It's a little high. And even when they cut it, they got grass, it's like laying everywhere. And it's not a field. And also when the field right by my house, trees have grown in the middle of the field and it's reaching over to my place. I'm trying to see if y'all can cut that down. As far as Dade Park is concerned, I really appreciate you all doing the improvement there. I wish that you all would have family exercise machines, better lighting, have volleyball maybe over there where we interact, or maybe a skate park, design the basketball court so it'd be beautiful. And those some of the things I have to work with. Thank you for allowing me.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. And the public comment is now closed. We move to special presentation. We don't have any public hearing. We move to our consent agenda. We have city council meeting minutes, the regular meeting for April the 23rd, special meeting for May the 1st and May the 7th. I request a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Mayor, there's a correction needed for the minutes.
I need a second, and I'll let you correct it.
Second, Naquita Noah.
Okay, what are your corrections?
For April 23rd, there was a public comment and the street should be Ellison, not Olson, I think, on the minutes. It's just small correction.
I couldn't-
And then for 5-1, we had the workshop and unfortunately, one of the council wasn't there and it states that everyone was present. Again, these are just small corrections, but just so the minutes are correct. Did anyone look at the?
The work session you're talking
Mhm.
about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, that's all.
Clerk Pittman, could you make the necessary correction? She has it. Okay. Are you ready to vote with the necessary corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Minutes are approved with the necessary correction. We move to board commission meeting and minutes. We have the Civilian Review Board, their minutes from April the 9th, the Parks Board, January the 17th and February the 21st. I'm requesting a motion and a second to receive the boards and commission meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second, Naquita Noah.
All in favor?
Aye.
The meeting minutes have been received. We move to our appointments for tonight. We have several appointments for tonight. We have Lee Smith for the Personnel Board, which is an unexpired term. We have Tracy Smallwood for the Parks Board with its unexpired term. And we have CRB Ward 2, Jamel Franklin for unexpired term. Ward 3, Lamika Covington for the unexpired term, and Tim Lawson for unexpired term for the CRB. What is your pleasure?
I think Lamika and Tim both have to be at large. There's not a Ward 3 vacancy, if I recall correctly.
Clerk Pippin, could you let us know if there's a Ward 3 vacancy?
If you give me just a moment.
Yeah.
I actually,
Do you have it right there?
I do have it right
Okay,
here.
just
So
need to-
Ward 1 has 1 vacancy, Ward 2 has 1 vacancy, at large has 2 vacancies.
Right, so they'd have to
Okay.
be at large, both
Okay.
of them.
So Lamika Covington will be at large and Tim Lawson will be at large for unexpired term. Can we just make one vote? They all appointed by the council and confirmed by the council.
So moved.
Okay.
Yes.
It has been moved in second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We have Jamil Franklin for Ward 2 for the CRB, Lamika Covington at large, and Tim Lawson at large. All of them will suffice for the unexpired term. We have Lee Smith for personnel, unexpired term, and Tracy Smallwood. The next appointment we have is a mayoral appointment. Tiana Doris for the library board. I'll appoint her to the library board. We move to D. Do we have any requests We don't have any proclamations for the night. We move to number 7 for the resolution. We have resolution number 2024-19. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Thomas, could you please read the resolution?
Thank you, Mayor. A resolution providing for the publication of closed session meeting minutes of the Ferguson City Council.
Interim city manager?
Mayor and council, I have nothing at this time. I believe this was brought up by council on this resolution. Right.
Correct. I'm requesting a motion and a second for approval.
So moved.
Second, Heather Robinette.
Clerk Pittman, would you please call the roll?
Aye.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
No.
Councilman Bristow.
Aye.
Councilman Williams.
Aye.
Councilman Miller.
No.
Councilman Palmer.
Aye.
Resolution number 2024-19 passes. We move to resolution number 2024-20. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Thomas, could you please read the resolution?
A resolution selecting a contractor for bias-free policing training, awarding the contract to said contractor, and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract on behalf of the city.
Interim city manager, city manager, please explain.
Yeah, Mayor and council, on fulfilling the consent decree on training at the police department. This is a outside agency that would be coming in and teaching us bias free policing. The total cost would be $7,100. I think 78 for the
Councilwoman Lipka.
So looking at this, and maybe Chris can help me too, if he's still in the room.
I might be able to help.
Okay, that either way. So on the contract services under compensation, I show 3,900 within the first 15 days of acceptance, 3,900 on a net 30 basis upon completion. And then additional compensation speaks of travel accommodations reasonable and necessary, hotel accommodations reasonable and necessary, per diem allowance at the government rate to cover breakfast, lunch, and dinner, rental car expenses reasonable and necessary. So I understand reasonable and necessary means something to somebody, but I don't know what that is. So is there a cap on these charges
So-
for an overall total? And then
On
the
the per
second,
diem, there is, because it goes by where you're located. So like if we send people out for conference, look at their per diem, what they could get towards that state. So that's how the per diem is made. And it does your lunch, breakfast, and dinner.
so travel expenditures, hotel expenditures, food expenditures, car expenditures, is there a dollar value that could be clarified in this contract?
I have Miss Stevens up here.
Hi. It's the Keith Williams, sole owner of Tactical. Okay. I am looking at the wrong one, but I thank you for clarifying that. The bias-free training, which was Ray Rice. Okay, so I have different questions for that one. Under compensation, again, I wanted to have some clarification. So it says a one-time course development fee of $500. That I totally understand. A flat fee of $185, which is a class fee per seat for each 8-hour class block. The parties anticipate 3 8-hour class blocks. And so with the potential of a fourth, so it's kind of open-ended if there's a fourth one needed. So per seat, so are we, are we, how many seats are we having? I'm like, if we have 10 seats at 185 times 10 times 4, where's where's the boundaries? Okay. Okay,
All, the total is course development. You have to look at materials, the PowerPoint, handouts, all of these things go or are part of those costs. So it's just not someone coming in and providing training. They have to put together a lesson plan. They first put an outline together. We submit that to the DOJ. The DOJ then, well, the resume first, and then the course outline to see if it meets the specific requirements. This isn't just someone that can come in and train. They have to meet the requirements of the consent decree.
right.
So they have a program that they've been teaching which has.
Okay,
But what he had to do is he had to modify it and tweak it to meet the needs of our consent decree. That takes time.
okay. I have no problem with that. I was just trying to figure out in my head a dollar amount. So if, going with these rates and how many officers we have, it's not going to be something exact. It's not going to be something we can hold them to, but it is going to give us a range. So when I do my numbers, I'm looking at a range of anywhere from $20,000 to $28,000 for the process that will be created, from the number of officers, the time allowed, the 3, maybe 4 classes, which to me, that's a very wise expenditure of money to get these things done and get us through this consent decree. That is nowhere near what we've spent on the monitor. So, I'm totally good with that. When I look at contracts and I know we're paying out money, I like to see some kind of numbers so that when citizens say, well, it just never ends, I can say, yes, it does. Here's the numbers. Here's how it works.
Well, and we started out that way, but what you find is that you're nickel and diming a subject matter expert.
Okay.
It's to just get one number, to get that encompasses all of those things that we talk.
So to not do that to an expert, what I'm understanding, and I'm just reiterating so you can tell me I'm right or wrong, is that it was easier in this contract to state the hours of the classes, the number of hours, and the cost per seat, because up and after that, it's all dependent on who's there and how long it takes and so forth. Right, I got that part. Correct.
Then anything past that is going to encompass, like I said, your course development. Is going to be the time that they spend developing.
Okay.
All of those things are part of it. Okay. And next time, what I will do, because this is my first time doing one of these.
Yeah.
What I can do is I can be a little more specific. And so I apologize for that. That is with the council meetings. But it is easier to take a whole amount, and because get into that, because they may have to go back and several times, because after we evaluate, I'm gonna sit in on that training, and I may have to have that person go back and tweak the lesson plan and say, no, we've got to take that out, we're not gonna have it, or we need to add something.
And I appreciate where you're coming from, and I appreciate this is the first time. And the only reason I ask these questions, and it's not to question your authority because you are the expert. Simply, the reason I ask these questions is because past expenditures that we've approved have become never-ending, or they didn't encompass enough, or, we would have situations where they come back and it was getting more and more expensive. So it's just a matter of trying to get an idea. What's our low end, what's our high end, and what's our timeline, because everything costs more if it takes longer. So that's the reason I asked those questions. So I hope that's clear.
So that if, once we get through this portion of it, then I think it stands for 1 year.
Okay. It did. I read through that.
So also, I just want to point out to you.
Yes, sir.
If you look on the back of the resolution,
Mm-hmm.
at the very bottom, budget, $7,100. That's how much this is costing the city.
Right, I saw that. I just didn't
So
know. if
it's
this-
not, I thought I heard 28,000. It's not 28,000.
That was for the other one.
Okay, so, but also this is very common in these classes, because if we do not have enough seats to make that day, we could potentially, other departments could bring also people in as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens.
I-
Councilwoman Robinette.
Just one more quick question before you leave. So just to be clear, the 7,100, that's the 500 upfront and the 185 per 35 or roughly. Is there, so if they have to tweak the class, are there additional consulting fees on top of that? Because that doesn't look like it's spelled out. Okay. Okay,
Contracts for $7,100, and that's
Okay.
for him to deliver the course.
okay,
Okay.
So
and
there won't
for-
be-
For him to bring the course, and that here is $7,100.
okay, thank you.
And that's what we will.
There's always going to be that chance that we have to go back and.
Understand 100%.
If it's better for me to add it and ask for extra, that's.
No.
Never.
Sure.
Right? Because when you have to understand that there's always going to be that possibility.
I-
would hope that we could sort of define it, because this has gone on too long.
So yes, we have been paying and paying and paying. And this, yes, I agree. The consent decree has been going on entire too long. But what we need to make sure we're doing is it's not just an open checkbook to consultants to come in and I'm just making sure. Okay,
Yeah,
So,
so
and
the
that's,
first one's 7,100.
Okay.
7,800.
Okay,
Next one.
thank you.
we got it.
so that was just for that one then, because I got the bills mixed up. So when we go to the other one. unless there are other questions.
Okay. A motion and a second for approval.
So moved, Linda Lipka.
Second, Heather Robinette.
Please call the roll, Clerk Pittman.
Aye.
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 Aye. Resolution number 2024-20 passes. We move to resolution 2024-21. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Thomas, could you please read the resolution?
A resolution selecting a contractor for use of force training, awarding the contract to said contractor, and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract on behalf of the city.
City Manager Hampton?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this one is on the use of force training. This will be at $7,800. Ms. Lisa went over a lot of the stuff. It's basically the same thing, but use of force.
So,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Lipka?
so just real quickly, going back to my question for a little more clarity, because I had mixed up the bills. I had them stapled incorrectly in my packet. We've got the 7,800 for this one. That's your total budget currently. But is there any kind of cap within that 7,800 on the additional compensations, food, hotel, travel? Okay,
Yeah.
so I look at him and then I hear your voice. I'm like, what? Okay, and then that one, trying to think what the time, I'm not gonna find it in here. Could you just remind me what the process of this one's gonna be and how long you think it's gonna take for us to get to a final position?
Well, we're going to begin this one in July.
Okay,
So July 8th, 9th, and 11th.
thank you.
This will be reflected on next year's budget as. in
The
here.
budget that we got.
Yeah, yeah, on the resolution.
Okay.
But since it's being a contract, they need to have the contract signed,
Sure,
and that's why it's being brought today.
okay.
Thank you, Ms. Lisa.
I request a motion and a second for approval.
So moved, Linda Lipka.
Second, Aquita Noah.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Aye.
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 Resolution number 2024-21 passes. We move to we got that. Bills requiring first reading. Without objection, we introduce with council members present. Attorney Thomas, could you read the bill number 7278 by the title only?
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance naming property owned by the city of Ferguson at 7533 Halpin Drive, Ferguson, Missouri, 63135 to Unity Park.
City manager.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I know if you guys want to have a discussion, I have Joseph from the Parks Department that's here to explain this a little bit more detail.
Is there discussion?
We can and we don't, so let's
that-
listen to Joseph.
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to have discussion or not.
But we hear from Joseph. Thank you. All right. We move to bills requiring a second reading. Bill number 7272.
Madam Mayor, I have an amendment. There has been concern expressed that there are businesses in non-owner occupied buildings that may be a victim of landlords failing to pay their taxes. I've therefore drafted an amendment which provides for a provisional license and a process by which those tenant businesses may continue to do business lawfully in the city. I've provided the text of this amendment to my colleagues and to the city clerk, and because it is a change in substance to the bill, our charter requires that the second reading be delayed until our next meeting. So the first thing would be to move and second the amendment. And I don't really want to sit here and read it. I will if you'd like, but you've all got the amendment.
Okay, the request is that amendment has been added to bill number 7272 and to delay the second reading. Let me ask Attorney Thomas, does this go back to the first reading? Since we're doing another amendment?
It doesn't need to go back to the first reading, but it does need to, it can't be amended and passed in this same city council meeting since it's a change in substance.
The last paragraph of 3.11.5 addresses that, Madam Mayor.
I do understand. I asked for clarification from the attorney. So is there a motion and a second to move it back?
Well, we have to pass the amendment first.
Have to vote on it.
We have to vote on the amendment first and then I move to amend as I've provided to you in the email.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Now we move it.
It's required by charter.
It'll come up at the next meeting. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Now we go to bill number 7273. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Thomas, could you please read bill number 7273?
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance amending certain sections within Division 2 of Article 2 of Chapter 4 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Ferguson relating to the regulation and issuance of licenses for the sale of intoxicating liquor in the City of Ferguson.
I request a motion in the second to read the bill the second time and place it upon its passage.
So moved.
Second.
City Manager, you have any additional information?
No, ma'am, not at this time.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Cassoff,
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
No.
Councilwoman Lipka. Councilman Williams. Councilwoman Noah. Aye.
Bill number 7273 passes. We move to bill number 7274.
I didn't do Councilman Palmer.
Aye.
Okay. All right, Councilman Palmer.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move to delay second reading of this bill until our next meeting. As we discussed at our work session, Ms. St. Pierre has provided us with some information that I asked, and I just got it tonight, so I haven't had a chance to review it, so I don't want to pull the bill, but let's put it on second reading next time, and then assuming that this is everything that we talked about at our work session, then I will withdraw the bill in our next meeting.
So we are going to move this bill to the next meeting.
Yes, I move that second reading of this bill be delayed until our next meeting.
Second, Linda Lipka.
Are you ready to vote? Clerk Pittman, please call the roll.
Councilman Cassoff.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka.
Aye.
Councilman Williams.
Aye.
Councilman Palmer.
Bill number 7274 has been moved to the next meeting. We move to put bill number 7275. Without objection, we'll introduce with council members present. Hear none. Attorney Thomas, could you please read the bill?
An ordinance amending certain sections within Article 1 of Chapter 7 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Ferguson relating to buildings and building regulations in the City of Ferguson.
I request a motion and a second to read the bill a second time and place it upon its passage.
So moved. Second.
City Manager, any additional explanation?
I have none at this time, Mayor.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Cassoff.
Aye.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka.
Aye.
Councilman Williams.
Aye.
Aye.
Bill number 7275 passes. We move to bill number 7276. Without objections, we will read the bill for the second time. Attorney Thomas, could you please read the bill?
An ordinance authorizing the city manager of the city of Ferguson, Missouri to enter into and execute an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission regarding the granting of a temporary easement for highway purposes.
I request a motion and a second to read the bill the second time.
So moved.
Second, Naquita Noah.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Aye.
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 Councilman Williams.
Aye.
Councilman Noah. Councilman Palmer.
Aye.
Bill number 7274 passes. Without objection, we've introduced this bill by the council members present. Attorney Thomas, could you please read the bill 7276?
I'm sorry, Mayor, was 7276 the bill that I just read?
77.
So I'm on 7277.
We already did 76.
Okay, we're doing Bill number 7277.
Thank you, Mayor. An
Thank you.
ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Ferguson, Missouri to execute the deed and acknowledge other documents in order for the real properties to be transferred to the city for city development and or beautification.
I request a motion to second read the bill a second time and place it upon its passage.
So moved, Naquita Noah.
Second.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Aye.
Councilman Palmer,
Aye.
Councilman Cadwell,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilman Lipton.
Done.
Councilman Williams,
Aye.
Bill number 7277 passes. We move to any unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Here none, we move to new business as amended by the agenda. I just want to share about, and hopefully we can discuss about social media. I received an email and I would like to read it to the council and to the public at large. And I quote, "Hello, Mayor Jones. My name is Doug Pitt. I have been and currently being defamed by Councilman Nick Kassoff. Mr. Kassoff has falsely attached me to the owner of a property located at 9181 West Florissant with delinquent property taxes. I do not and have never owned a property in Ferguson. Councilman Kassoff has taken to a Facebook page called I Care About Ferguson, of which he is the creator and moderator. He has and is inciting an assassination of my character while endangering my safety by putting false accusations into the public domain. The fact has been posted, informative link to my person, made comments and reference to my family members, posted a picture of my house and a picture of my likeness. This is a serious act of events. The building in question is owned by a business associated named Brian Hayes, ex-Mercy executive Don Sorensen, and Don Music, owner of the Music Construction. My firm, Pitt Development Group, was a developer that put the Mercy Clinic and the business address listed for the Pitt Development Group is mine and correct. For some reason, their business group that owns the building has my home address listed. I have never been a part of their business entity, any partnership, or had anything to do with management of 9181 property. He also references my being involved in Healthy Homes as my name was listed as an organizer. I resigned from Health and Homes in 2018 and have not had any association with them since. His narrative and assumptions there are completely false. In your last council meeting, at the 1 hour, 35 second, Councilman Nick Kassoff mentioned the size of my home and deriding me as the offender. It has been brought to my attention that pictures and personal declaratives of me have been distributed among council members at the initial leading of Councilman Nick Cassoff. I take great offense in these actions and ask immediate actions to direct Councilman Nick Cassoff to cease and desist and all action falsely demeaning me and my family. I also want to discuss an investigation into Councilman Nick Cassoff's actions. They have probably taken place among council persons and the public action discussed. I am also asking for a public apology, and we can discuss what that means. A council person should know to not try a case in the public domain. But Councilman Nick Cassoff has been trying to rally the troops for his bill at the expense of an innocent citizen. A council person should also allow due process and the finalization of city action having been taken place before identifying people into the public domain, much alone stirring up negative feelings toward all individuals. I look forward to hear from you. Regards, Doug Pitt, unquote. I just would like to share this simply because this is not the actions of the city of Ferguson. No council member can demand or go on Facebook and talk about anyone. If taxes are due, that is the responsibility of St. Louis County, the Department of Revenue, to collect taxes. I've been on this council since 2015 and mayor for 4 years. We have not had any grievance like this to occur. My goal tonight is to hear from the council as to how you want to approach this email from Doug Pitt, and it has nothing to do with the city at hand. Councilman Nick Cassoff.
Several things need to be clarified here. First of all, regarding the interest that Mr. Pitt may or may not have had in this property. What we do know is that property tax bills and assessment information and other official correspondence were sent to Mr. Pitt's home address for 4 consecutive tax years. And I know if I got a $50,000 tax bill sent to my house on property that didn't belong to me, I'd fill out the form and get the address changed sometime in a 4-year period. Mr. Pitt didn't do that. And to be clear, the person who he puts forth as the real owner of this property, it's not just some random guy. Mr. Pitt is the CEO and owner of a construction firm, and the guy who's the real owner of the business is his right-hand man, a partner in his business. A business which, by the way, is not conducted from Mr. Pitt's residence. It has offices in a building. It's a big company. So if I'm the assistant to the CEO of a company and I go out and buy some real estate, I don't put the CEO's home address down at closing as the tax address. So I know he protests a lot. It's impossible to tell the whole story behind this because a lot of the corporate records are confidential. What I do know is that his partner provided me with some confidential corporate records, and I made a clarification on that Facebook post at that time. That building's $111,000 tax delinquent at this moment. And because of my action, it's going to be paid this month, according to the owner. He's also getting some pressure from his bank, which noticed that it's delinquent. And I've got some non-escrowed loans as well. Bankers want their loans paid and they want their taxes paid, because if you don't pay the taxes and it gets swept out in the tax sale, that bank is out of luck. So those taxes are finally going to be paid. Now, regarding the Mercy Clinic across the street, it's an interesting thing. Mr. Pitt was one of the organizers of the corporation Health and Homes St. Louis. That's public record that you can look at with the Secretary of State. Now, he says he withdrew from that business after that. I take him at his word. That's fine. That Mercy Clinic hasn't paid taxes in 3 years. And taxes on that clinic are not very high compared to the Mercy clinics all across the St. Louis County area that do pay taxes and pay them on time every year. Our taxes, I think, were $35,000 a year on that clinic. You go out to West County, it might be $300,000 or $400,000 a year, and they pay them. So what I want to know is why people come to Ferguson to help us, and they buy real estate and put up buildings, and then they feel like our children in our schools don't need that tax money paid in a timely manner. Our city doesn't need our tax revenue in a timely manner. I ask that they give us the same consideration that they give people when they buy a strip mall in Chesterfield or when they buy a medical building in Creve Coeur. Pay those taxes on time so our teachers can be paid, so that our city can have the revenue it needs to pave the streets and take care of our residents. We always talk about rich people paying their fair share. Mr. Pitt, and the only reason I know where Mr. Pitt lives is because his home address was on those property records. And you can look it up on Realtor.com. I didn't go by his house and take a picture. I put that address into Realtor.com. And the only photograph, he talks about, oh, I'm putting his family out there. Incorrect. The only photograph that I posted was from Mr. Pitt's own website, a photograph he put out there. So if he's got a problem with a photograph of himself being out there, don't put it on your website. But the bottom line deal is, look, we appreciate people coming to Ferguson to help our city through a difficult time. But the first thing you've got to do if you're going to help us is pay your taxes. That's all I'm talking about. And finally, as far as bringing this whole matter up, look, I don't think this is the kind of thing to air at a public meeting. The mayor felt otherwise, and so I had to answer. But here we are. That's what happened. That's what I did. I stand by what I did. The appropriate minor tweaks to what I said were made in a timely manner at the request of his business partner. And that's all there is to it.
He has issued in this email, we can be sued because of the action you took as a council person. Council members are not elected to go out on Facebook and talk about people. If taxes are due, they are due to St. Louis County Department of Revenue. It is not our responsibility. It is not the behavior of council people to act this way.
A council member, by virtue of being elected, does not lose his right to free speech. I never purported to be speaking as an official representative of the city. The city has a collector of revenue, and that is not me. I'm speaking as I have always spoke as a resident of this community and a concerned person, and I didn't lose the right to speak as a concerned member of this community when I was elected to this council. When I act as an official representative of the city, I'm only permitted to speak on what council has voted on. But that doesn't mean we don't have our own opinions. And by the way, he claims that I'm the moderator of the I Care About Ferguson group. That's incorrect. If he had read the post that's pinned to the top of that page, I relinquished the role of moderator of that page when I was elected because there's constitutional issues with restricting the speech of members of the community who want to come there and speak. So in other words, I don't have a right to cut somebody off if they're a member of the community when they're speaking. So I'm not a moderator of that page anymore. There's a team that moderates it. I am not part of that team.
You out of order.
Mm-mm,
You out of order. Point
no order.
out of order. At some point, Councilman Castle, people hold council people to an esteemed level, and they expect us to walk and interact with citizens at that esteemed level. No one said you diminish your right as the First Amendment, but as you sit in that seat, you still a council person, and everything that you say and that you do is viewed as a council person.
I agree.
Cannot step out the role of mayor and become an individual or the First Amendment. I'm always carried the role of mayor. I cannot switch back and forth. The people put us at a certain level, and we should rise to that occasion. If Mr. Pitt decides to bring a lawsuit against the city of Ferguson,
It won't
We-
hold water.
we don't know if it will hold or if it will not hold. This has to stop. We cannot sit on this dais and expect to say, when I walk out in the street, I'm going to be a person. I'm not, my position as council person or mayor stops there. It does not stop there. This has to stop.
Mayor Jones, I have a question. On the day that I was sworn into this council, that morning, you made a lengthy post on your Facebook page attacking me.
Campaign.
On Friends of Ella Jones, attacking me for an article in January, which, by the way, was a completely accurate article. I'm wondering, were you in that post acting as mayor or as an individual making a political comment?
That what we're talking about right now, hold it, hold it, hold it.
We can read it if you'd like.
Care if you read it or you don't read it, personally myself. You have been deframing people, and now we have someone who has a possibility of bringing charges against the city of Ferguson. As for that post that I wrote on my campaign page, it was campaigning for you who 4 months earlier or whenever you call yourself deframing me. So I'm done.
Mayor Jones, I haven't defamed anybody. And look, anybody can claim anybody has defamed anybody. And if he wants to sue me, he can sue me. I hope he doesn't. Personally, I wouldn't have even brought this up tonight, but now Channel 4 is here. You probably told them this was going to happen.
No, I
And
did
there's
not.
and there's a big, well, they somehow knew, didn't they? And now this is out in the media. So whoever told Channel 4 to come down here for this made it worse. And you bringing it up here made it worse.
Then you shouldn't have
If you,
posted on
if you think
Facebook.
Mr. Pitt's laying awake at night worrying about Nick Kassoff, you think far more of me than you ought to.
You
And the
really
bottom
don't
line
want me
de-
to answer
And the
that.
bottom line deal is this, we are wasting everybody's time talking about this. It's a non-issue. And look, if he wants to take me to court, he can take me to court. And you know what? I'm fine with that. I think Mr. Pitt and I would both be happy to leave it alone at this point. But hey, if you want to bring it up at the next council meeting, feel free.
Councilwoman Lipka.
So, Mayor, I will just say that Councilman Williams had his hand up, and so did, I thought somebody on this side had their hand up, but I would, if Councilman Williams would like to speak, I would like to have a turn after him.
Okay, Councilman Williams.
Nick is a council member, but he still had his First Amendment right before he became a council person, so I do agree with him. He can post on Facebook as long as it's factual. And I do believe the information that he posted was factual because the taxes are gonna get paid. You're saying that it's the responsibility of St. Louis County. Well, it's been 4 years and they haven't done anything. So Nick's actions are bringing tax dollars to Ferguson. Everybody in Ferguson wants to be safe. When you call the police, you want them to come. But if we don't have those tax dollars, we can't hire the police we need to be safe. We can't have the number of police to get rid of this consent decree. It shorts our children on the education level. So these taxes are needed. I just got a letter in the mail the other day. My mortgage is going up because Ferguson taxes are going up. So we still have to pay the roads and pay the police. So when these businesses don't pay their taxes, it hurts each and every one of us. The money has to come from somewhere. So when these businesses come and they don't pay us, we have to take the shortfall and pay that. They're not doing that in West County. Those taxes are getting paid. Those schools are superior. We need those tax dollars so our kids can have a fighting chance and a good education. So, Nick was expressing his First Amendment right. It's working. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't factual, Mr. Pitt could file a defamation of character suit. So it has nothing to do with the city of Ferguson. That's between him and Nick Kassoff. But I think all the information that he posted is factual. He's just contacting the mayor to try to make a smear campaign and get us involved in it. But Nick expressed his First Amendment right. I think the information was factual because the tax dollars are going to get paid. And he doesn't have to give that up as long as he's spreading factual information.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. Councilwoman Lipka.
So a couple of questions here. So the letter that you just read was written on Monday, May 6th. And Mr. Kassoff made his post on Monday, May 5th, but then he did updates after having conversations with Brian Hayes. When did you do your updates? Do you know the date?
I believe it was the same day he contacted me. He provided me information and I immediately upon receipt of that information made the updates that Mr. Hayes requested.
Okay. So taking the opportunity to bring this to this council tonight with things that have already obviously changed was irresponsible. I do think you have the right to bring this up at council, but I think you have to keep your timeline in order. I would have also liked to have been told that what your topic was for new business, not just social media. That was kind of a misnomer. You said that we have to hold ourselves at an esteemed level. Well, I would also say that when somebody comes into our community and tells us they're going to do all these amazing things for our community, and they have a very famous name behind them, and they use that name to impress us, then I would say that they need to be held to an esteemed level as well. And I would also say that every single thing I saw online, I went and checked myself because I was like, this better be right. And guess what? Every bit of it was. And the thing about it is, Mr. Pitt may not have been on records now, but you know, if I send you my tax bill and I put your address on it, but it's not yours, and I've sent it to you for 4 years, you got a problem with that. I know you would. And the other thing is, when you pull up and go do your own homework, Google the homework. You pull up all kinds of St. Louis Business Journal articles of all the great things. And, you know, you go in here, it says businessman Doug Pitt was spent nearly 30 years building his Pitt Technology Group, which he did, and nearly $6 million enterprise. Congratulations. The last 4 years, he's also been working as Pitt Development and building Mercy Clinics, you know, and so it goes on. And then his name is on the Health and Homes as the co-founder of that nonprofit with Brian Hayes. So these things, if he took his name off of that, it should have been removed legally. It should have been removed publicly. When it was ironic, because the very same day I was thinking to myself, I need new flooring in my house. How many square foot do I have? And I thought, I looked at my house and I was like, do I really want to get up and get a tape measure and measure every room? No, I don't. So I went to Zillow, put my address in. Picture came up of my house, told me how many square foot I had. These things that are on that post, every single one of them are public record. The picture, I went to his website. I read every inch of his website. It's a great picture of him. That is the picture that was out there. There is nothing that was brought up that isn't public domain. So you know, and we may have done him a favor, because if these things were not being corrected in the last 4 or 5 years and he didn't know about it, now he does, and he can get them corrected. So I would say that there are a couple of issues here. Let's not sandbag one another. Let's make sure we keep our timelines in order. Let's make sure we give as much credence to updates as we give to original texts and emails and things like that. And I would also like to say that if there was no background and Mr. Kassoff or any member of this council was on Facebook saying things just to say them, that's slander, and that's criminal. But when there's public domain, civil, thank you. They feel like criminal. But when there's public domain on every single document, I think it's a matter of clarification, and it's not our responsibility, it's theirs.
Councilman Palmer.
I make a motion to end this discussion and move on to something relevant in new business.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. The fact still remain, we still hold ourselves as a higher esteem.
Yes, ma'am.
Miscellaneous, starting with Councilwoman Noor.
Madam Mayor, my motion was not voted on.
It's been properly moved in second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We move to miscellaneous. Councilwoman Noor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just right quick, I would like to remind everyone that there's a Nesbitt Newton neighborhood meeting. It will be May 22nd at 6 p.m. at Nesbitt Newton Park on Nesbitt Newton Drive. Please bring a lawn chair. And we also meet every third Saturday at 10 a.m. via Zoom for the North Hills neighborhood meeting. I'm looking forward to the Twilight Run Walk this Saturday. You know, it's a healthy, fun, and purposeful community event. So thank you to all the organizers and supporters and volunteers. And I didn't get to make a comment regarding the issue of social media. I just would like to say that we are legislators, as I'm always being told, and that's why the bill was presented and we're going to vote on it. There's no need to embarrass anyone on social media, in my opinion. You know, I guess you do have a right to say what you want to say if that information is public knowledge. I'm just saying, what's the point of embarrassing people, business owners, residents on social media? What does that do, especially when we have the power to make the change? What's the purpose of that? We're better than that, right? We're better than that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Orr. Councilman Palmer?
Yes, I wanted to address a couple of the concerns that the residents have had about the implementation of the ARPA-related funds for the Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Program. I am a non-voting council liaison for that board, so I've been present at quite a few meetings. I also used to sit on that board prior to being on the city council, so I've been going to those meetings for probably 5 or 6 years. I've seen the board go from basically having no quorum and not meeting for years at a time to meeting regularly and getting a lot of business done to the point where we're being kicked out of our meeting venue due to being there too late. I can assure you the board works very diligently to serve all the community and all the residents the best that they can while preventing fraud. There is a low income program that is free. There is no match. It's $1,500. It's means tested. The only person that is not allowed to participate in the program in question is a person who owns a rental property. Every owner occupied home is eligible to participate in the program. The bulk of people are qualified for the $1,500 grant match, and people that are in the low income category get $1,500 grant with no match. So I just wanted to clear that up, that there is not a single owner occupant in the city of Ferguson who is not allowed to participate in this program. While there has been some hurdles lately with implementation, the board has spent over a half hour at the last meeting discussing how to get things more streamlined and bringing things back in-house. And they have hired somebody that's going to help with implementation of applications to speed up the process and make it more transparent. So it's not like they're just doing nothing. They are working to address the concerns of the residents. And I will also say the meetings are the first Tuesday of every month at the community center, and they are open to be attended. They're not private meetings. There is a public comment section. No one has ever came to a meeting and spoke publicly at the Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Program that I can recall. Maybe once, and it was a person who wanted to do a neighborhood grant, which brings me to my next point. They don't just have the exterior appearance improvement program. They also have a good neighbor gift program, which grants first responders, teachers, city employees $1,500. Is it $2,500 or $1,500? $2,500 grant to move to the city of Ferguson. They used to do a graduation gift, which is to get graduates to move to Ferguson. I believe they're working on possibly getting that going again. There's a neighborhood beautification grant, which is a non-match. They will give your neighborhood association money to improve your neighborhood. There's no match. You just come and apply for it, and you can put plants down, fix trees, whatever you want to do. You can apply, and it's a non-matched program that is available to any neighborhood organization. So there's a lot to offer, and every program is going to have hurdles, but they're working through those to improve the process while trying to prevent fraud, because there have been some cases of fraud that they have had to try to catch. And I'm sure some have gotten through, but I would hate to see the money get squandered and then people are complaining about no money left because it all got given away for fraudulent claims. So while people might think it's nice just to send checks out and give them to everybody with no strings attached, that's not going to work. The purpose of the program is to improve the neighborhoods by doing pre-approved grant application programs and grants that are fully not matched so that everybody is eligible. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Palmer. Councilman Kassoff.
I hope the irony isn't wasted on anybody this evening who is a regular user of social media, that the mayor who on the morning of my swearing into this council went to her campaign Facebook page and absolutely slandered me. I didn't bring it up. Bygones, okay? I'm not going to come in here and waste folks' time on that kind of nonsense. But look, Mayor Jones made a big deal about things that are just absolutely false in this post. And, one of the funny points she made in there, she says 3 votes are not a resounding victory. Are 23 votes a resounding victory? I don't think so. And yet, here we are. I'm not going to waste any more of anybody's time on this. I hold myself to the highest factual standards and will continue to do so. I stand behind what I say. I document what I say. And if you go back and look at those posts, there are documents from public record on those posts. Go see for yourself. Don't take his word for it. Don't take Mayor Jones's word for it. Go to the posts and see for yourself. That's all I ask.
Thank you, Councilman Kassoff. Councilwoman Robinette.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to just kind of remind everybody, I've been on council since 2016. And that was during, we joined at a very tumultuous time during, shortly after the unrest. We had just signed the consent decree. When I was elected, it had just gotten passed. And we were seeing all kinds of entities and folks trying to come in and quote unquote save Ferguson, right? Like they were going to dig us a well or something. I mean, it just got to the point where it was ridiculous. And what they did was they would come in, get a lot of good press, get a lot of good pictures. That's exactly right. And walk away, get the money and, not put forth the effort or follow through. Thankfully, we do have several good nonprofit organizations that have, stood the test of time and actually have been here for Ferguson. But I feel like there were so many people who just walked away from their victory of saving Ferguson. And then we all are left cleaning up the mess. We all are left, when I said earlier, we've had the consent decree too long. I totally agree that the consent decree everything should be met on the consent decree. However, it's not in anybody's best interest to finish the consent decree. Lawyers make a lot of money off of this. And all of this money is coming from the poor people of Ferguson. And that point is missed. And so as all this is elongated, we are not able to provide services to our public that we deserve that they deserve. They are paying a lot of tax money for things that are just being dragged along. So I wasn't meaning to sound flippant about we've been in the consent decree too long. I think it's just in no one's best interest except ours to get out of the consent decree, to fully comply and close it off and stop paying a bunch of lawyers. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Robinette. Councilwoman Lipka.
And I would say maybe what Councilwoman Robinette is saying is we've been in the consent decree too long, but what that time is, we had too much time of nothing happening. But now we have time. Now we're seeing things happening at the rate of speed and the professionalism and the detail orientation that we had thought we were going to get from day one. Had we had at day one what we have now, we would be done. And so that's where the phrasing comes in. We've been in it too long. We've been waiting for excellent work for too long. So that's one point. The other thing I would like to say is when you folks came up to the podium during public comments and discussed the FNIP, I liked what you had to say. I thought all of you had some very clear points, but I also heard concerns on my part because, there was a little bit of correct and a little bit not correct. So there's nothing more dangerous than half right. So, if you want to have this meeting in June, or if Chief Hampton, I would like Chief Hampton to be there. So if he can't be there that particular day, I hope you guys will come up with a different date and coordinate with him when that would be. I think it might be necessary to clarify exactly what's going on. I think tonight what I heard was the clearest thing that I think is important is what Mr. Franklin found. And like he said, he didn't think it was anybody trying to do anything mean or wrong or deceitful. But when you've got paperwork out there that doesn't reflect the new changes, maybe that's something we look at. But the rest of the conversations that were going on, I would just ask that when this meeting happens, those of you that are determined that something nefarious is going on, that you keep your ears and mind open to the understanding of what really is happening, as Mr. Palmer has spoke out to and clarified, and embrace that when you understand it so that you can then move forward and use these programs to your benefit. So let's have the meeting, come with open ears and open mind. Let's get it all fixed, cleaned up, clarified, and everybody understands. You see me very, very often during these meetings, reiterating what somebody's saying to me, saying it back to them so that they know I got what they said. That's what we need everybody to do at that meeting. And I would also like to end with, I keep coming back to, well, that person doesn't come to my neighborhood association meeting. That person doesn't come to my neighborhood association meeting. Council members aren't required to go to neighborhood association meetings, but we like to. When a neighborhood association meeting has 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 council members there, you don't need any more. 1 is enough. 2 is extra. After that, it's overplay. So, do the best I can. Rest of these people here do the best they can. But yeah, when I know that there's 3 council members at a meeting, I'm not needed. You're going to get the same information. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lipka. Councilman Williams.
Yes, I want to comment on the Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Program. I think it's an excellent program, but you guys have to realize it's a grant. So they have certain rules you have to follow. You go by their rules. But I want to make one comment to make it equitable. I didn't know that you can get the funds without a matching grant. I didn't know that. But a way to resolve that, if we have contractors that we work with, they'll do the work for free up front if they know they're going to get paid on the back end. So that means the actual person getting the work done wouldn't have to put up any money. Contractors, they just want to know they're going to get paid. So we have a rapport with certain contractors, they can do the work for free for citizens. So the people that don't have the resources to put all that money up front and still get the work done, and we can match that grant. The whole point of that grant is to beautify Ferguson. When your neighbor's house looks horrible and you live beside them, that brings your property value down. But if everybody fixes up their house, the property value goes up.
Sky high.
Then everybody in Ferguson, we're a good community. People want to move here. Your home is your biggest asset. And so when that goes sky high, that's what you pass on to your children and on and on. So I just want to make it equitable. And I think that's something we might be able to do to get some contractors that will do the work for free, knowing they'll get paid on the back end, for people who might not be able to afford that upfront cost and get the work done.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. City Clerk Pittman. No report. City Attorney Thomas.
I don't have a report. Thank you, Mayor.
City Manager.
Yeah, Mayor, and Council. So, this weekend, we had some, Public Works Department employees working because of the rain. Part of our problem is right now, we're not, some of this grass is because it's soaked. That and as well as with potholes. If we put the stuff down right now, it's just gonna pop up. So we're trying to work when it is not raining, but we have been in a pretty big rain spell. This high grass is everywhere. We are trying to get in front of it, but we're doing the best we can. So that's all I have on that portion. The other portion is on Dade. The contractor did fill the holes along the roadway. We've had this conversation a couple of times. People have to park on the road, not on the one tire off the roadway, because the city will always have to fill a gap in that is not the city's responsibility. And they were filled because the first time she told me about it, we went down there.
Ms. Brooks, you're out of order. Allow the city manager to speak, please. Ms. Brooks.
So the first time she brought it to my attention, we drove down there, me and Corey Gilbert, and you have tires that are off the roadway. If they're gonna park like that, the city's not responsible for replacing the dirt. So. And that's why we have the ruts along the roadway.
Okay.
I'm done.
Anything else, city manager? Ms. Brooks, you are really out of order. When you had an opportunity to speak, I held the public comment open just for you. Now, City Manager Hampton deserved that same amount of respect. Ms. Brooks. That is enough. Thank you. Thank you. Just would like to remind everyone that on May the 21st, the Salvation Army at 9420 West Florissant from 1 to 2 o'clock, asking for everyone to come out for 30 minutes of education and receive a box of cleaning supplies, including bleach. They are having a campaign to keep Ferguson clean. In addition to that, there will be a back to school vaccine clinic, and it's June 1st, June the 6th, June the 19th, and June the 22nd. And it is sponsored by the St. Louis County Public Health. So please go on their website. If you have children who need vaccinations, please go on their website so your kids can get their shots to return to the next school year. At this time, I'll entertain a motion in a second to dismiss.
So moved.
Second, Aquita Noah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. You dismiss. If you